Good afternoon and welcome again to another segment of PCA Live 3 at 3. Today we've got a great conversation that our good friend Jorge Armenteros is going to join us to talk about Tobacconist University and everything that entails in that great program that he's been working on for a lot of years, basically pouring a lot of his passion for cigars in the industry into that project. And Joshua Herberski is going to join us and lead that conversation to go through it. And Joshua himself recently just went through the program and got his certification. So look forward to that conversation and understanding a little bit more about the program and how it's an aid for our retail members to use and growing their awareness and understanding of the entirety of the premium cigar process and how that can help them with sales and with their customers as well. So without further ado, I will bring on Joshua Herberski and the man himself, Jorge Armenteros. Gentlemen, good afternoon. How's everyone doing?
Good afternoon, Scott.
Thanks for having me.
How are you guys doing? Holding up?
Indeed. Yes, I'm seeing all the reports now from, I think there's the French research that's out there that's starting to show the nicotine is a good defense against COVID-19. So I'm going to continuously take my medication every day.
Well, I'm having a good cigar today. I got the Big Poppy David Ortiz, giving it a shot, and can't complain. We're working hard. Got a lot of new things going on. Before we dive into the interview with Jorge, I think that you'll see the PPP funding coming up. Get the added funding. So we'll be working with our members to make sure that they are able to get the resources they need if they weren't already approved for that program. So next week will definitely be another busy week. And we got a full schedule of great interviews with people like Jorge. Jorge, I just want to, get things kicked off. When did you found Tobacconist University and why did you decide to found it?
Well, I had opened my first retail store in 1995. And in 1996, within less than 6 months, I went to Cuba to learn about cigars and the whole world that existed. Even though I had studied up until then, I didn't have enough knowledge. I realized that very, very early on. And I went to Cuba and I got very lucky. I met a lot of great people high up in Cuba tobacco, and I got great information and access to factories and farms. And when I came back later in 96, I opened my second store and will go on to open a third in another state even. And I realized the greatest limitation I had was the educational level of the tobacconist, the employee. You can teach somebody how to count money. You can teach them, or hopefully they come to you with good people skills. But I felt that it would be our competitive advantage to give great service. And the internet was emerging at the time. And it really seemed to me like product knowledge was an extraordinarily important competitive advantage. I believe that obviously to this day. I think history's proven me out in every industry, right? The more you know, the more learned you are, the more value you can add through that sales channel. And nowadays, the customers teach tobacconists as much as we teach them. So it was just the desire, no matter, even if I had tried to be as knowledgeable as I could, reading books, and Cigar Aficionado had come out in the early 90s, I needed more. And that's where it emerged. Having to train my own people to make them great at what they did. That was the reason Tobacconist University was born. It started originally just to educate my stores. And then we sort of started doing classes for the public in 1997. There was a lot of enthusiasm with consumers. And so we started certifying consumers as well. But it wasn't until about 2006, after maybe another 5 years of full-time development, that we brought it to the PCA, RTDA at the time, and wanted to turn what was a proprietary educational program inside out and make it available to all tobacconists. Long story short, I guess that's what.
No, it's fantastic. And I think it's a wealth of knowledge. And, you essentially took your employee training curriculum and program and made it available to anybody and everybody. One thing that I thought was really interesting, and, there are great publications out there. There are great, blogs, podcasts. You can find the ins and outs of everything and anything about premium cigars and pipe tobacco out there, but you've done it in such a way that's condensed, it's organized, not only with the curriculum, but one of the things that I was really impressed with is the handbook itself. And just want to ask you, how did you put that handbook together and, make it such a valuable resource where, if you have a question, it's something that now I have after going through the program, I can refer to those specific things in a real easy way.
The handbook is interesting because first we built the macro curriculum, figuring out we always focus on the word tobacconist. What is a tobacconist? It's called the Tobacconist Handbook, and we are called Tobacconist University. And so it starts with the definition of a tobacconist. A tobacconist is an expert dealer in tobacco and the related accoutrements. So it's not a cigarologist. It's not, we are covering a comprehensive industry, right? So you need to understand, in order to understand dark air cured cigar tobaccos, to be a tobacconist, you need to understand the light flue cured, or you need to understand the pipe world and the cigarette world, at least in comparison, really to appreciate how extraordinary cigars are, if that's just your focus, cigars. So we built this massive curriculum over a decade. And of course, people were like, well, I like to read books, So I said, oh, well, we'll make a book. I was going to make a coffee table book of our FAQ. And then that seems so limiting, right? How to handle a lighter, how to handle your humidifiers, how to light a cigar. And like so many things, it's just a can of worms. And you go down that path and you realize, well, maybe I can do more. So rather than a coffee table book in 08, 09, we came up with the idea to make the Tobacconist Handbook. And there's a lot of books on cigars and tobaccos and pipes. But once again, that central focus of a tobacconist, nobody covered that. A lot of these books are people waxing on, storytelling or telling you romantic stories about cigars, which is great. A lot of history, but everything we do is from that tobacconist perspective. And I think it's a very unique perspective. It's holistic in that it has to understand all tobacco and how it relates to consumers and so on and so forth. We have a professional responsibility to know things about lighters, about cutters, about cigars, pipes, so on and so forth. So the book was just a distillation. It's interesting because I thought it would be easy, and it was one of the most difficult challenges to distill what may be the equivalent of a 1,000-page book on the internet, right? With videos and a lot more pictures. To distill it down was brutal, and when you write a book, because I just finished the second edition, an updated version of the Tobacconist Handbook, which was supposed to be out now, but because of the drama globally, it'll be out this fall. We really got to take it to another level this time, improving the content and the pictures. But it's one of these things always harder than you thought. I thought it would be easy. Well, we're just cut and paste, but nothing's ever a cut and paste job, right? So the book came from people wanting to read something physically. Our first book, the Tobacconist Handbook, was self-published. It came out very expensive, but we had over 100 color images in it. And the next book is going to be extremely, much more beautiful, much higher print quality, and half the price in a hardcover. So just having a publisher now that respects what we did with the book, originally for the first decade, very exciting. Having a book is great. Every store should have one, right? It's such a great resource. If you get a new employee, we have shops that give the new employee the book. It's there for customers. It's the only document that it provides the fundamental knowledge necessary for this profession. There are plenty of, like you said, great blogs, great reviewers, there's a lot of great everything. But our focus is always on that professional tobacconist. And the book puts that on paper.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that really struck me is that it emphasizes the craft, the trade, that, it isn't something that somebody could just wake up one day and say, all right, I'm a tobacconist. There is a significant amount of learning that is required, and you really nail all the different points, from customer service to, agriculture to products. I do think that it's an incredibly valuable resource to anybody that's interested in the industry, especially retailers. And given your experience, that adds to that authority on that. I got mine a couple of weeks ago, the first edition from Amazon, and I'm looking forward to the second edition. I know, while everyone is remote, it's a great time to further education and understanding of the industry, which is one of the reasons why I was interested in bringing you on. In addition to all the updates that you guys are working on, as Scott mentioned, I got the certified cigar sommelier, and can really attest to the quality of education and information. Others within our organization and consultants are now going through that process, because I told everybody, hey, this is great. We really need to get on the same page. I can talk about the governmental programs and things like that, but really having that foundational understanding, that gives us a competitive edge. We understand the ins and outs of everything there. So how many people have gone through the different programs over the years?
Wow. We try and keep it current. I could tell you right now, we are at, I think 600. I don't want to click too much on the computer and lose you. 608 certified retail tobacconists and sommeliers. But, hundreds we've had to remove. They changed professions. They dropped their email. I know we've certified well over 1,000 professionals just since like 2007, which is a huge honor for me. I remember when, it was just my little shop. And then I remember Georgetown Tobacco in DC said, all right, we'll do some of this. And to your point, now with the shutdowns, and I have so many tobacconists coming and really doubling down on their investment in their people getting their PPP money, and saying, I'm going to force my employees to educate themselves more now. Things haven't slowed down at Tobacconist University one bit, but I think we're gonna double in the next 18 months. Notwithstanding, if people leave the industry as they normally do, we like to clear them out of our list. But I really, almost like a renaissance happening right now with the new signups. Thank goodness, knock on wood for us.
Yeah, and it's important for the overall industry to get that knowledge and have that consistent basis of understanding. And like I said, early on with the shutdown, it was something that I had talked about doing, and really reached out and was interested in it. And again, I can speak as someone that has gone through it. I really appreciate the level of detail and the variety of the curriculum. I think one of the things that I was really impressed with was the sections on tobacco cultivation and agriculture in the curriculum. That is something that I traditionally, in my role as Director of Federal Affairs for PCA, wasn't really accustomed to. We're doing a lot of things on substantial equivalence and retailer focus and manufacturer focused ideas, but really that basic understanding. I think a lot of industry experts or people that work in the industry would find that section eye-opening. In particular, how did you determine the core components of the curriculum? It's so focused, and you could have had 20, 30 different sections, but you really nail it down. Here are the important things. How did you come up with that and really condense the information?
I think maybe the truth speaks for itself. I didn't just go on one trip and decide I'm an expert on this, right? I'm not sure I ever even feel like I'm an expert on anything. So you just kept building it and working with different cigar makers and traveling to different countries and seeing what's important. I always was inspired by people. If you saw cigar rolling, you would, sorry, my dog is crying. Anybody who sees a cigar get rolled, we have a piece of content over a decade old, a bunch of leaves. It's so inspiring to see a cigar get rolled, and you realize how extraordinary this bunch of leaves is, and how much time and energy takes to go into it. And so I don't know that I made any editorial decisions, I would say, in a certain way, as to what's in TU. We only put in there what's important, right? So air curing is something I've fallen in love with again recently in developing a Cigars 101 curriculum. I always thought I loved the factory, and then I always thought I loved fermentation. But watching air curing recently and going through the new video we have and the new pictures and sort of bringing that into our curriculum, I fell in love with air curing all over again, because that's the magical transformation from a green leaf to a brown leaf that now will start a whole new journey into becoming something palatable. So I don't know if I meandered off track here, but I think we put in the curriculum exactly what needs to be in the curriculum. And it took a long time, from 96 to 06, just to get the video, the photography, and that's with the technology back then. Now we're working on that next level of technology where we have the high-def video, but we have to put it in the right platforms. Like the course that you took, the Certified Cigar Sommelier, we're going to be enhancing that with more video for the Cigar Fundamentals curriculum. So we have an old-fashioned curriculum now where you read and you hit next on every page. There's a lot of improvements to make, and we have thousands of hours of new video and photography. The cameras are better. It's extraordinary. By the time you think you accomplished something, you're behind. So it's never finished, right? We're always tweaking it, developing it. We're waiting for web smell-o-vision to happen, which will really transform our educational programs. So I hope that answered it for you. I almost feel like the cigar makers always say, listen to the tobacco. And I feel like that curriculum, our big free curriculum that's in our campus on the Tobacconist University website, it's so important to note there's no paywall for that. Nobody does that in the world, not in the spirits industry, the wine industry. Nobody shows you their content for free. And that was really important to us to say, if we really want credibility, we're not going to make you pay to see what we base our knowledge on. And so I'm very proud of the fact that our campus, 98% of our curriculum is absolutely free to anybody who wants to see it. You don't even need to give your email. We want your email, but you don't have to give it. You go to tobacconistuniversity.org, you go to the campus, and it's there. And that's who we are. And so it makes it bulletproof in a way, right? So do you think we're not exaggerating, it's not hyperbole, it's not marketing BS. We're not trying to sell you anything really other than give you something. But cigar makers say, listen to the tobacco. Maybe we just listen to the content, and it's a natural evolution. Like, what does a tobacconist need to know? There'll always be critics, you don't have enough on pipes or pipe tobaccos, but I guess the composition of the industry determines how much is pipe tobacco emphasized and how much is cigar emphasized. And then we really try and show what's beautiful. Cigar rolling. Currently we're doing, like I said, I fell in love with air curing again, so I'm trying to get more of that video up. You can't make fermentation beautiful in a video. Unfortunately, it's hard. But air curing is really something. Fermentation, you have to see it to believe it, the smell. So we listen to the tobacco, and we listen to the tobacconist. And that's where the content comes from. I don't have a perspective as much as an open ear. And I've been a retail tobacconist for 25 years, right? So
yeah. You have several different programs that people can enroll in. If you could just walk us through the programs and, who you recommend to enroll in the different programs.
Yes. Well, at the core of everything is our CRT, Certified Retail Tobacconist degree. We exist because our mission is to preserve luxury tobacco for generations to come. And there's nothing and nobody more important to me and Tobacconist University, and the PCA for that matter, right, than the retail tobacconist. The retail tobacconist is the keystone of this industry. They are the nexus point. Without them, the industry falls apart, quite frankly, in a couple of few years. You'll be limited to very few choices. The retail tobacconist is at the center of this feedback loop between consumer and cigar maker. And the industry would not be nearly as vital as it is today if it wasn't for retailers. I could go on and on about it. I could design a university or write a book about it. So the Certified Retail Tobacconist degree is a degree we give out for free to PCA members. There's a $50 online exam fee that helps us pay for what we do. But that's who we center everything around, and it's something I'm very proud of. We have a certified Salesforce tobacconist degree for the guys who come to retailers and sell cigars. We have a certified consumer tobacconist degree, which is extremely difficult. It's like a mini CRT degree. It's 50 questions instead of 100. And it's impressive how many people go through that. It's a very difficult program for a consumer. Then we have the Certified Cigar Sommelier Tobacconist degree, which you got and passed. And congrats.
Thank you.
It's not an easy degree, but it's not our hardest degree, right? It's very laser beam focused on the cigars, on the big picture of what our cigars. It's meant to elevate someone's understanding of cigars. You can get that degree and not be an expert on smoking cigars, but once you pass that test, we know you know what you need to know to be in the cigar business. And as you saw, that curriculum digs deep into our big macro tobacconist curriculum. It uses it as its foundation. So we're very proud of that. And then we teach things in there like a little pairing school and retail fundamentals. So that's really a great, well-rounded program that is actually shockingly growing a lot for us right now. We've never marketed it. It's been out for like 2.5 years. And it's reached a demographic of bloggers and educators in the industry. There's a lot of people, I'm sure you see them, who want to be in the industry, but aren't going to open a retail store, aren't going to start a cigar brand. But maybe they like to do educational events, or maybe they're in the wine or spirits industry. And this enhances their positioning. We find a lot of consumers that want it. We have medical doctors who've gotten that degree, rocket scientists for all I know. So it's a great catch-all. It could be a personal degree that you're not a professional, or it's a great professional degree. And admittedly, the term sommelier adds a lot of value. There's a lot of brand equity in that, which is a generic term. Idiots around the world use the term sommelier to describe themselves. But ours, as you know, has a structure, a code of ethics, and it's based on a certain curriculum and standards that we have. So those are our tobacconist degrees. And of course, we have the Certified Master Tobacconist, which is for CRTs to graduate to, and that involves 100 hours in the field and factory. It's difficult to get that many hours. And then making an academic contribution for Tobacconist University that we agree on that, it was always the vision of TU to not to have me write the content, right, but to have the tobacconists bring it. There's many more smarter people out there than me that can do this better. So we're sort of that platform where we want to allow tobacconists a place to show off what they know. The goal ultimately would be that the content would be written by tobacconists and then not by me or anybody else, only retail tobacconists, because that really is always the heart of what TU is about. Always revolving and rotating around the retail tobacconist.
Great. So you recently launched a certified cigar review platform. Can you tell us a little bit about this project and how people can get involved? I know it's something that's very new and exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting for me. It's been a labor of love that nearly broke me in more ways than one. I spent over a decade trying to figure out, how do you taste is such a complex thing. We have Taste College and TU, and there's a lot of very good bloggers and reviewers out there in the world. But I want to give credit to the article the PCA magazine just did with Up Down Cigars, Phil Ledbetter, who's a certified tobacconist. And Phil is really a genius, and Joel, his partner at Up Down. But the way they do this top 25, and I think you guys were re-promoting it recently and saying, why not make your own list? Forget about theirs. We're the retailers, right? We're that part of that feedback loop between cigar maker and consumer. So I always felt like that. Like nobody knows more about the cigar than the consumer and the retailer. And while there are good review sites out there, it's a real industry. It brings eyeballs to websites and magazines, and they're fun to read. But I always wanted to create something that focused on using the right fundamentals, the right vocabulary. Words mean something, and so the words we use matter. Whether we're talking about spice or strength or body, you could go look at 3 review sites right now, and they'll all be using obviously different definitions, and they probably don't have the courage to define the words they're using. So I wanted to give some structure and empowerment to retail tobacconists and ultimately all consumers to be able to review their own cigars in a succinct way, in a graphically rich way. I mean, anybody can write a book on what they think about a cigar, or a page or 2 pages. So certified cigar reviews is probably, I think, the biggest piece of programming that's ever been unleashed upon this industry. You log in and you can see reviews, snapshots of reviews, little bar graphs. But if you don't know what a word means, you click on that word and a new window opens up. And we explain to you what body, strength, spice, aroma is. And then there's also a more in-depth. If you don't know what stock cut is, and this cigar has a stock cut wrapper, you click on stock cut inside of the review and it opens up a window. So now you know what stock cut is. If you want to know what Hamastron is in Honduras, you click on that and we take you to a helicopter video we created of the Hamastron Valley. So we created this extraordinarily rich environment where not only can you read a review that is structured about cigars, but that you can learn, and you can go as deep and learn as much as you want, or keep it as simple as you want. So we allow all certified tobacconists to use this platform. It just went live last week after 2 years of development, right? This is the hair I lost while creating it. This is the checkbook that was depleted in the effort to create it. But I could not be more proud. And it is beautiful. And it is just the beginning. But when you go to it, every certified tobacconist can use this platform for free. And you can make a review as succinct or as in-depth as you want. It could take you 60 seconds, maybe 90 seconds to do a review. And you can log in with your existing TU credentials and submit the review. And we collect the data on the cigar. You tell us the brand, whether it's a Padron Classic 3000 or 2000 5x50, the Vitola. We document all that. And then you can rate the pre-smoke qualities like the draw, the attractiveness. And we show this in animated bar graphs when you look at the review, when the viewer looks at it. And then we select, you can rate the smoking criteria, give it an overall rating, select flavor and sensation descriptors. And a lot of these criteria, when you're doing the review, you can add new ones. You create an overall rating. You can write final thoughts, pairing notes. So we're trying to democratize this review, the world of reviews, and really empower retail tobacconists to use them to their advantage. As Up Downs Phil Ledbetter said, why not do your own instead of using theirs? So this is a way for tobacconists to take ownership of the reviews. I think nobody's better able and positioned to give a great cigar review than a retail tobacconist. A retail tobacconist is just a consumer who gets paid to do it, and they're at the epicenter, the nexus of that feedback loop. So this is an instrument. To be honest, as a retailer, one of the things I wanted from it was shelf talkers. And so I always love shelf talkers when I go into a wine store because I don't know much about wines, but I like wine. So shelf talkers mean a lot to me. So every review that is published has a button where you can print the shelf talker. And we're working on continually adding new variations of that, but that's magnificent, right? It's got the little bar graph, strength, spice, body, the overall rating, the data, and each shelf talker promotes the tobacconist that created it. You can also print tear sheets, which is a 2-page, I wish I had one here, two-sided paper with all of the data. It's visually, graphically beautiful. We go in and put the picture of the cigar after you review it. We're working on there's a lot of improvements to make, but it's spectacular right now. And I'll say lastly, you could share it all electronically, digitally, and social media. But really my favorite application right now of the cigar review, as it turns out, because we are hustling as retail tobacconists to survive at this point, is the Shop Now button. And every review done by a CRT, Certified Retail Tobacconist, when the review is listed, has a Shop Now button that automatically goes to your website. So we are trying to send the consumer directly to the Certified Retail Tobacconist. So a retailer can spend 90 minutes, 90 seconds reviewing a cigar, post it, print a shelf talker, share it on all their social media, include a link in an email, share it on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever they want. But the reviews also come with a link to buy the cigar from your company. And hopefully within the next 10 days, we're going to add some customization to that feature so that when you review the cigar, you can add a specific link to a specific page when you're doing the review. So maybe you did a blog post about that cigar, and maybe you have a special offer, you can do a blog on that cigar. Not everybody has their own website that they can control the content on. But we're really trying to empower retail tobacconists and consumers, for that matter, and anybody, to do their own reviews in a substantive way, to always be learning, to always be sharing, and ultimately we'll do anything to help the retail tobacconist get a competitive advantage and do better. Was that a long-winded answer?
No, that was fantastic. I mean, I think that is something that a lot of PCA members will find value in. And you're right. I mean, that it's a revolutionary thing, something that you've put some time and effort in, and, you mentioned 2 years, and I think it's exciting. That's something that, I would encourage a lot of folks to check that out and see it. I mean, again, that, to me, it sounds like it's something that's essential for the industry. And you're right. We're looking for innovative ways as the premium cigar industry to, remain solvent during these tough times. And that's something that you can not only get a lot of information from it, but you can also utilize it as a core business function.
Absolutely. Look, education is a competitive advantage, but educating your customers, your friends, sharing is also a competitive advantage, and it's a fundamental way to engage your customers. Do a cigar review. If you're smoking a cigar, put 2 minutes into doing the review, and then share it on your social media. Your logo's on the review. Your name is on the review. Your credibility, a link to your website. 2 minutes a day means you're communicating digitally all the time, but adding value and educating. And these reviews are meant to educate. The tobacconist is educating, and then TU brings in that layer, that macro layer of educational links. And so together, we're going to get an exponential rate of return on that. And fortunately, all PCA retail members can get certified for free. So this is an advantage that we together are providing, a competitive, tactical, and strategic advantage. And we have to get on it, But it's instantaneous and it's free, and it works beautifully. I got to say, I'm getting emotional because it's been a long, hard road.
It's definitely something that you should be proud of. And you mentioned, Phil's article. That's been posted on our social media. Folks, I would encourage anyone that's listening to look to check that out. And
Right.
Actually, next week at this time, we'll have Phil, Scott, and I, along with Pete Johnson of Tatuaje Cigars, talking about wine, cigars, and I'm sure some of this discussion will carry over to that session next week.
Great, good. I sent Phil an email. I want him to get on this site, certifiedcigarreviews.com, start testing it. You mentioned Pete Johnson. We just saw a Tatuaje Black Label reviewed. We're using a 10-point scale, so he got a 9.3. I mean, it doesn't matter, with a 10-point scale, a $5 cigar that gets a 7.5 is phenomenal. But I'm so excited to see retail tobacconists doing reviews because to me, nobody knows better because they're the guys in the trenches. This is the infantry of the industry.
Absolutely. Well, you've mentioned a lot of different, updates and improvements and new programs with Tobacconist University. Where do you see yourself heading in the next year, 2 years? Kind of give us a roadmap of things that you're focusing your attention on now.
Well, we also just released something called the Cigars 101 course. And it seems silly that it took us 23 years to get around to it. I figured other people will get around to it, and they have. And there's a lot of fundamental education. There's a lot of really smart, great people on the internet. But, you know, it feels like every time you round a corner, you see something stupid being said, or something, you see a marketing hyperbole or something erroneous. So we really wanted to set the record straight. So we're using a learning platform where it's all video and, you know, tracks. You can take quizzes right after the content. You see the video. So we want to get the consumers educated right, because we don't think the marketplace did a good enough job. You know, they've done a fine job, but we wanted to do it Tobacconist University style, fundamentally strong and accurate, so that, you know, the foundation you're building your passion on is as solid as can be. So we see that space of consumer education as an important one. And I see that we need to step our technology game up, really, because I built this very old school, you know, you type it, you put a picture. So there's a lot of evolution to go on, but we need to see what happens with certified cigar reviews, and Cigars 101 is taking off well. Education. We have a program we haven't even discussed, I haven't even marketed it, that's ready to go at a moment's notice. It's called the CCST Maestro program. And that is a program where any CRT can open a CCST school, Certified Cigar Sommelier Tobacconist School, and you can actually teach your own customers, because a lot of retailers educate. They have seminars in their own stores, or they have customers that want to be more educated. So our Maestro program allows that CRT to own their own sommelier school, and we can upload specialized content in there, or they can be teaching their consumers things. Then they give them access to that school so they can go take the test. So we're trying to build customizable educational, I guess, modules or products or platforms that empower retailers and others to do the educating. Tobacconist University and I are the epicenter of education. I mean, maybe we're the epicenter of tobacconist education, but there's a lot of good stuff out there. You know, if you want to be well-rounded, you have a voracious appetite for knowledge. But we're looking for those opportunities to empower our people to educate, and to build more loyalty for substantive and quality education. There's a lot of people, you know, just because you say something strongly or loudly doesn't mean you actually know what you're talking about. And that's classic on the internet. So we think we've proven ourselves. We've been vetted by over 1,000 certified tobacconists and thousands of professional tobacconists. And we want to project as much of that credibility and integrity and knowledge as we can moving forward. And this is a very exciting year for us. The new Tobacconist Handbook is coming out, the updated version. It's beautiful. It'll be out this fall. We just launched CertifiedCigarReviews.com, which I think is the most empowering tool I've ever seen for retail tobacconists, in more ways than I can even talk about now. We've launched Cigars 101 to get to that consumer base and to empower them to know better and to do better. And then we have the Certified Cigar Sommelier Tobacconist Maestro program to empower our tobacconists to teach in their own way. We're not the end-all be-all of teaching or learning it by any means. So we're going to create a platform that can be profitable for them as well. And I mean, that's keeping me pretty busy, Joshua.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your insights and your contribution to the industry, and, you know, all these resources out there for anyone watching this. I would encourage them to, you know, take a look at Tobacconist University and see some of the new projects that that you've been working on and you spent a lot of time and resources on. We're greatly appreciative of that. You know, just to wrap things up, I've been asking this question to any of the guests that we have on here. What is your go-to cigar and drink pairing?
Well. Any Padron and a Macallan 12 Sherry Oak cask. But, you know, the best drink to pair with any cigar is a Cuban coffee.
I agree 100% on that. Any type of coffee and espresso. I enjoy some tequila also with tequila and a cigar, and had the opportunity over this, bit of a break to try some new cigars, and I'll definitely provide some reviews on the site there. I know that a lot of our members have been doing some different e-commerce and keeping us consumers also fueled with good cigars, and have been really appreciative of all that as well.
Yeah, let's share our knowledge. Let's get together. That's what you're here for, right? The PCA.
Absolutely.
Together, and together we're bigger and brighter and stronger than we are separately. So let's keep putting these resources together to make sure that retail tobacconists have as bright a future as they deserve. And thank you for everything that you guys do.
We appreciate it. I can't wait to have you in DC. Scott and I will get to enjoy some good cigars and some Macallan with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to say that got a lot of great conversations that have been happening on the comments, and I think there's a couple things I'd like to get your insights on, Jorge. Lionel Grand on the YouTube channel has been asking some questions about the use of the word sommelier as it relates to cigars, and have you considered, or have we considered really kind of the thoughts on choosing that term, or maybe going in a different direction with it? And would we be open to working with the two major recognized wine certification bodies to get recognition or partnership, or to kind of figure out something along those lines? Because it sounds like some of them may not be too enthused about cigars and tobacco using their term.
Well, they don't own the term. One of the inspirations, it's a French word, right? One of the inspirations for using the term is simply that somebody said to me a few years ago, I have sommelier experience. Well, what does that mean? So the term has been diluted so much that we were trying to take, and I see people years before we developed this program using the term sommelier. I'm a cigar sommelier. Well, what does that mean? Well, at least when Tobacconist University says you're a certified cigar sommelier tobacconist, we could tell you exactly what it means. We could show you the curriculum it's based on, the code of ethics and standards, and there's an exam. So the term sommelier, unfortunately, last year, the Washington Post magazine did an article on the sommeliers of everything. I was a piece of that, part of that article. It was a great article. I don't know if you saw it, Scott, maybe?
Yeah.
In DC. So there's honey sommeliers, there's mustard, hot sauce sommeliers. But what does it mean? So with Tobacconist University, when we use a word, we're going to tell you what it means. It's not marketing hyperbole. And so that's what's important. And as long as I believe in standards, we believe in standards. So we don't want to dilute the word. If anything, we want the word to mean something. And when it's used in connection with Tobacconist University, you will know exactly what it means.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the genesis of the word was for somebody to go and fetch something, and it was born out of a sommelier going and fetching buggies for you to go, almost like a taxi buggy to go get into, and then like a transition into somebody going and fetching your wine for you, for example. And so it didn't necessarily come from a place of tasting expertise. It came from somebody going and fetching you and bringing you something that you needed. So very much is applicable in that sense. But I thought that was a really interesting question that Lionel provided, because sommelier does have this interesting connotation in the wine community. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. And we just had a conversation on Tuesday with Michael Herklotz about, he obviously loves wine and that wine pairing with cigars. And so I do think there is sort of a natural affiliation that some people make when it comes to wine and cigars as well. I think just by listening and seeing a lot of, as Mickey says, a valet. Yes, pretty much. Yeah, valet kind of type of person. But I think from the majority of the conversation we've seen here, I think a lot of the questions have been answered. And of course, Valerie would know this, being in Canada. You obviously speak French, or franglais, as it were. So she puts the somm as the person who brings. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Valerie, for that comment. That's perfect. I think most of the stuff has been answered here. So I just want to thank you, Jorge, for number one, all the work that you put into this, because this is really a labor of love for you. We've talked at great length since I've come to the PCA about your work that you put into this. Very much a passion project here. So I hope everybody really, truly appreciates the amount of work and love and what you put into this, so that it just kind of helps everybody understand a little bit better and help them become better. And Josh, thanks for the interview and for taking this. Anything else we want to say before we head out for the afternoon?
Just again, thanks, Jorge, for your insights. I know, tune in tomorrow. We have Christoph Cigars Another good addition there. And then next week, of course, like I mentioned, Phil, Pete, and Scott and I will be talking at great length about, cigars, wine, all of the above. Should be a real fun conversation.
Just want to note two very important members-only webinars that we have next week. We just scheduled one today that's going to take place Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We have a lawyer and a CPA. Now, this is not a joke. We have a lawyer and a CPA that are both very much experts on the PPP and what that means. We're going to be talking through what you need to do to be compliant for those PPP loans so that you can be forgiven and will not have to pay on those. And then we also have a roundtable for members with Representative Guy Reschenthaler out of Pennsylvania. So for all PCA members, look for those invitations coming through to your email. And if you don't see those, just email me, scott@premiumcigars.org, to get the link to register for that. So again, thank you, everybody. We look forward to having you tomorrow when we talk with Jared at Christoph Cigars. And hope you guys all have a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, Jorge.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.